What's happening, everybody? Today on the Dane Carter Show, we have somebody here from Nashville. We have Coach Micheal Burt.
Yes, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. And we're going to trade up. I'm going to come out here and spend more time, and you're going to come to Nashville and spend more time.
And that's exactly what we were just talking about off camera, because he came straight from Huntington Beach, where if you're not from Huntington Beach, you haven't been there, it's a pretty nice place on the beach to kind of hang out and relax. So I'm sure Micheal wants to get out here more.
Temperatures in Nashville right now are hot and humid.
Yes.
It's a beautiful place, right? But as soon as I got off the plane the other night, we flew into Long Beach and 70 degrees. I was like, oh yeah, this is good. I could do this for the whole summer.
Yeah, and I love Long Beach. I'm literally third generation Long Beach.
Yes.
It's just my home, my zone. I love that city. And it's fun. And speaking of home, why don't you let my listeners who might not know who you are, give them a backstory on kind of where your journey started and where the fire started to become Coach Micheal Burt.
Well, there's a real clear story of origin for me. My buddy Tim Story always said that you first have a big revelation in life.
Love Tim Story. Shout out to Tim Story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be at his church tomorrow.
Nice.
He says he's bringing me up on stage during church, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure.
But he says you first have this big revelation. Well, at 6 years old, my mother was a single mom, had me when she was 16 years old. She used to take me down to the local baseball field, and I would stay for hours and hours and hours while she worked a second job. Okay. And it was one woman down there named Mickey Vincent, who was a female Little League baseball coach, which was really odd.
That's rare.
And this woman kept saying to me, son, one of these days, you're going to be a great coach. One of these days. And I kept hearing that. In high school, my high school basketball coach called me professor. He said, the way you think, the way you study the game, you're going to be a great coach. So I heard this pretty much my whole upbringing. So at 15 years old, I started coaching junior pro basketball. At 18, I was coaching elementary basketball while I was in college. I won a state championship then. And then at 19, I got a call from the second largest high school in Tennessee. And the head coach said, man, I've heard about you. You're a young little whippersnapper that can really coach. Will you be an assistant coach for me? And so at 19, while I was in college, I went to be an assistant coach.
Wow.
And so I was on a fast track. I knew what I wanted to do. I found my voice early in life. So by 22, I was the head coach. So I was the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the second largest high school. And it took me 10 years, 80-hour work weeks, to build a national powerhouse. And so in 10 years, I built like this big-time powerhouse women's basketball program. That school we're going to win 7 of 10 championships, state championships. So it's kind of my legacy.
I love it.
And I was using a theory called the whole person theory that I learned from Dr. Stephen Covey. From 18 to 25, Covey was the only person I studied. And he taught this concept of body, mind, heart, spirit, like how to tap into the whole person. I was using this whole person theory to coach my players, and we were winning, and I mean producing. So people were constantly asking me, what are you doing with those kids? And I said, I don't have time to explain it, man. I'm trying to win championships. So I'm going to start writing books on it. So I started writing one of what will become 14 books at 25 on really inner engineering people, competitive intelligence, how to win. That would lead me out to speak, and that would lead companies to start asking me to coach their people while I was still a high school basketball coach. So I wouldn't retire, Andy, until I won a championship. Like I'm not leaving until I do what I said to do, right? So 31 years old, I retired. I won a championship, built a national powerhouse, and then I retired to start a coaching business. And so now I coach entrepreneurs, sales professionals, lots of people in real estate, lots of people in the mortgage world. My top mortgage originator is doing about $150 million a year. So I'm coaching some big time people, and I'm being connected to big time people like you. You know, like gravitates toward like
100%. And it's such a huge part of my message is like light will find light, and dark will find dark, and light will find, it's the same thing. And you kind of breezed over two things I would love to go back and touch on. He spent 10 years building a powerhouse. 10 years. And so many people will stop year 3, 4, not getting the results. It's kind of working, it's not working. And then another huge piece of that that's really, really hits home now, especially in 2019, you followed one mentor.
Yes.
Not 75 fake gurus online.
Yes.
One proven person that is getting results and has for a long time, and you got laser focused. One person, one mentor, one goal, one very clear result.
Yeah, I think you're right on. When you think about mastery, I'm big into studying mastery, and I think Robert Greene wrote the best book on mastery, and he talks about, I would call it this long obedience in the same direction. That's a Christian book by Eugene Peterson, but the concept is really powerful.
I like that.
When you think about mastery of something, the people that earn the most income in our society have a long obedience in the same direction.
Patience.
They find their gift or their talent. They refine that gift, hone that gift, nurture that gift, and then over a period of time they develop this primary hard skill, right, that solves a problem for the world. And that's really how they become people of interest. So for me, my first primary skill was understanding how to take people and get them to a higher level of performance through the whole person theory, right? Which is something I still use today.
Of course.
Every person is deficient in either knowledge, skill, desire, or confidence. Once I find out where the missing structure is, I can coach them in that area. So to me, building 80-hour work weeks for 10 years, that's how we built a championship program. I'm now in my 11th year of running this business, and I think you master things at 10 years, right? But only, this is a big point for the listeners, when Gladwell wrote the book, Tipping Point, he talked about 10,000 hours of practice. When you listen to Anders Ericsson, who did that study, he actually said it's 10,000 hours of deliberate practice.
Consistent.
That's
right.
Typically, and with a coach, with a person who will correct you.
And hold you accountable.
So there's a piece there that people think, well, if I just do something for 10,000 hours, I'll master it. No, you need feedback, correction, accountability, role play, testing. That's how you master something. And so I feel like that's what we did in my first career.
So glad you said that. And it is a perfect setup for what you're doing now.
Yes.
And it feeds so well. It's hard to manage people. It takes time to figure that out. But when you have a formula like you do that's worked so well, and you can reverse engineer the person, not because everybody is so different and they're in very different phases of their life. So it's very easy to look and say, you know what, this person needs a little more time at home. They're working too hard. And a little more time at home might turn their productivity at work through the roof. But they're just full gas at work so much that they're missing out this little piece. So that's the part which is so fun. Like all the different stuff that you do is you can sit there and read the people and really listen. Like true master coaches and master mentors are incredible listeners.
Yeah, and they're really good at, like I say, a good coach should help you find and fill your missing structures. And a missing structure is just a void. The reason I like the whole person theory is because you can have all the skill in the world. Most sales trainers teach skills, tactics, strategies. That's good.
That's part of it.
But if you have a broken heart, that's the heart piece, or you've lost faith in something, that's the spirit piece. It doesn't matter how good you are at selling if you're disengaged in the heart, if you have a broken heart or a broken spirit. So to me, our differential advantage is we coach the whole person. We coach the whole person, which means we do teach knowledge, we do teach skill, but we try to activate prey drive in the heart, and we try to really instill a contagious confidence in people. That's a big thing that we try to instill in our people.
Well, it's important. Like, life is not just business.
Yes.
It's the last thing I think about. My spiritual practice is so important.
Yes.
And it's important for me with my kids. But the first thing I do every morning is I drop into a 10-minute meditation. And then I sit in gratitude for 5 minutes. I pray.
Yes.
I work out.
Yes.
I play with my kids. I make the whole family breakfast. And then I start thinking about business. So I make sure I'm whole and solid, and I've created that space and capacity to start my business brain. 99% of people do it the opposite. What do? As soon as they wake up, they grab their phone. And now they've let the world tell them how they're going to live their life.
Right.
And then that becomes this subconscious infection that grows.
Right.
And I tried, like you, really hard to get people to break those patterns and have a pattern massive interrupt. But the spiritual part is so big.
Covey used to say that success in one role doesn't justify failure in another.
100%.
You can't be a great business guy and a lousy dad. Or, so I'm working on a concept called No Crumbs. And it's about how not to serve leftover energy to the people you love the most.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it's really I coach what I consider these Red Bull entrepreneurs. Like they're all jacked up on energy, but they like structure, and they go so hard that I think a real big piece of this is the energy management piece. And I go to a doctor in Houston, Texas. My wife and I are guests at a Holtze Health and Wellness Center, and this guy, like 31,000 people have gone to this guy. Does not believe in pharmaceutical drugs, all natural, right? But he really helped me to better understand that as you age, your body naturally declines. It quits producing things it needs to be successful. Cortisol, stress, handle stress management, how the adrenal gland works, the thyroid, whether men lose testosterone so they don't have just clarity of thought or drive. So he helped me understand that these dudes I was coaching that were typically 35 to 50 years old, let's say. Some of them have just flatlined. And I kept thinking, because I'm a coach, man, this dude's lazy. But that's exactly right. And when Dr. Holtze explained that to me, he's like, no. Your mind wants to do it, but your body is telling you you can't do it. And when I went through that, it shocked me that I was low on almost everything. He's like, I cannot believe you go at the pace you go at. Imagine if you had all of these levels clicking right.
I was the same one.
What you could do.
It changed my whole world.
Yes.
And the food and the sleep and the exercise. Like,
Yes.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I'm just sixth gear the whole time.
Yeah.
I have first and sixth. I literally blaze through all the other gears.
Yeah.
And because that part is so important, and so many entrepreneurs, I love that Red Bull entrepreneurs, exactly how they are. Because they're like sparklers.
I know.
They just burn hot and fast, and then that's it. But if you can manage all of those things, but that comes with age too. I mean, I'm 42,
Sure.
and I started to realize, a long time with health is very important.
Yes.
But very much so as you get to that 35 range where you start thinking, all right, I still feel good. How do I feel better? And one of the biggest misnomers is I don't like to work out in the morning because then I'm tired.
Right.
It is literally the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm so much more lethargic if I don't work out in the morning, and it's like rocket fuel when I do.
Well, I think, when you're thinking about this concept of energy, there's only so much energy in a day, right? It's like a cell phone battery.
That's right.
And if you sleep right and eat right and manage this stuff, it's high when you start the day. But throughout the day, it's being subtracted. When you get involved in drama, it like eats away at that battery 2 and 3 times. But this is a big concept because this is a concept I've struggled with because of how hard I push, how hard I go, and then coming home and having a 6-year-old daughter and a wife. My wife has got a new book out. My book is Inside the Mind of a Monster. Her book is called Living with a Monster.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
She has a podcast too?
She has a podcast called Living with a Monster.
That's right, I saw that.
And so it's a really powerful concept. Like, how do you live with an obsessed person?
Well, it's important. My wife needs to read that book.
Yes. And one of the things she said in that book was that when she stopped competing versus my ambition and started cooperating with that ambition, that's when our relationship went to a new level. But now she's doing her own thing for women. Now she's doing her own retreats. She's got her own book. She really don't know how to do it all yet. It's like she's unclear.
Going.
But the fact that she did it, I'm like, hey, you did it. You wrote a book. You're helping women. So we have a company, an insurance company in St. Louis, that they were paying me to come in and coach their people, and they said, we want your wife to come in and coach the women.
Love it.
And so I'm like, great.
Well, and it's a cool thing for you guys to do together, because now you're having conversations about how to grow her business.
Yes.
Right? And now she really appreciates your time. And now it's a different feeling. It's so funny because it was a very similar situation with my wife and I. And, we had just had Jackson. She's a brilliant woman, and she just wanted to kind of stay at home. And I go, hey, that's fine if that's your choice. But I don't want you to be like all the other moms in our neighborhood, in a very nice neighborhood that are just kind of hanging out with the stroller.
Yes.
Because you're going to waste your brilliant mind. And she's an incredible speech pathologist. And so we started her this little clinic, tiny little clinic. Now she has 3, this massive empire, and like it's changed the way we communicate.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Well, having that purpose, as you were telling that story, my mother worked in long-term health care for years, which meant nursing homes, right? She was a nurse and then an administrator. And she said to me, at the end of a person's life, there's 3 real reasons that I see that they pass away. One, they run out of money. And because they run out of money, they run out of good care. And so it's very important. She said, because there's 1 nurse in a nursing home to every 23 patients.
Yeah.
Okay? And they don't get the individual attention they need. The only way to get individual attention is to have enough money to have home, right? Like specialized care at the end of your life. She said the second reason they pass away is they run out of love. Nobody comes to see them.
That's probably the first.
Yeah. There's no, you know what I'm saying. There's no interaction other than the peers. But she said
the spirit's broken and your heart's broken.
That's exactly right.
And the body follows.
But the third thing she said, and as you were talking about your story there, is she said one big reason is they run out of purpose. They don't have anything to work toward. And my grandfather worked on a farm. He built cabinets. He sold land. He was a true entrepreneur, but he was like a
same person. We have a very similar story.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Well, I knew that's why I was here.
Of course.
But he was like a Thomas Stanley millionaire, right? Wore a cheap suit, drove a cheap car, lived in a cheap house, saved all that money, and he was always so dynamic. And I think about energy like it's dynamic, it's static, or it's entropic. Those are the states you're in. You're either dynamic and hungry and curious, or you're static, stuck, complacent in a rut, or you're entropic, which is disintegration. My grandfather worked his whole life. I remember going to his house, and he would always tell me stories. He had these one-liners, like if you got to want to, you can find a how to, you know, and success is out there. You just got to reach for it. Like he would always tell me these things.
Those little things lock into a young mind.
Oh, it was awesome.
Like solder.
It was awesome. And then he retired, and my mother told me one day it's almost like everything in his life went downhill the day after he retired. And I'm convinced he ran out of purpose. Joe Paterno, coached Penn State, was walking 25 miles a day, 83 years old, ran gassers with the linemen. They took away that job. He was fired, and he was dead within 6 months. He ran out of purpose.
And a broken heart.
And a broken heart. So the whole person explains a lot of things. So when you were coaching your wife there, we're very similar. I was always telling my wife, you have something to say.
You got it.
You got a song to sing. There are people you got to sing it to, right? And it was uncomfortable for my wife because she'd never been out front. I was always the out front person. She was the person back there supporting me. So she's finding her way. But I'm like, you're in the game. You got a book. You got your little deal. You're in the book. People are asking you to coach. And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I got goosebumps. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
It's fun. There was so I was watching some of your stuff last night actually, and I came across this. And I'm like, oh, that's his wife. Oh, she has her own podcast. So if I can find it, you know what I mean. So there's gonna be other people that are gonna be finding it. It's gonna be like there's just this medium is so fun. I didn't know it was gonna be this much fun when I started, and I mean, it literally took me a year to start my podcast because of all my own fears and my own stuff and I'll blah blah blah, and then I just went, and I was really bad in the beginning. So I tell everybody, I'm like, you're gonna suck in the beginning, whatever it is you do. The greatest athlete of all time was terrible in the beginning. But it's that willingness to keep going and executing the same way you have your whole career. Like you've had good 10, 12-year blocks in 2 careers that all feed business. So many people think like, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a this. That's just a limiting belief. It's just not true. All this stuff that I've been literally doing since I was 12 years old working, I still use today. That's just more tools from my toolbox. And I would love to get tactical for my listeners because we have somebody who's an actual tactician here. Because you don't just talk about it. Like you are an actual coach. You're not here to sell some seminar because you went to a seminar and you just changed the logo and now you're going to be an online clown. Like you're the real deal. That's why you're sitting here. We vet people like crazy. So, and they all try to get in. I'm like, nope, I don't think so. I can tell you're a poser. So we have a lot of real estate professionals on here, a lot of teams, a lot of investors, a lot of developers, and a lot of mortgage people, which will be speaking, and we talk a lot about social media and a lot about marketing. I want to kind of dive down because I think that the real estate industry is going to be shifting quite a bit. I think the huge boxes like the RE/MAX and Coldwell Bankers are going to be forced to shift because of what's going on right now. And the value's not there for those 70-30s all day long like they used to be. And there's a disruption going on, which I love. I love disrupting markets. It's the best. So if some of my listeners are thinking about, here's a perfect example, I'm actually building out a Long Beach team. And everybody's like, why are you doing that? You do all this other stuff over here. You built this big empire. Why? Because I like to. I like to serve. I actually like working with people and helping them with the biggest purchase of their life. It's fun. And I love coaching and mentoring, and agents do the same. So if you were me and you had my name and my brand and all the stuff that I do and had this passion for like traditional real estate and investment real estate, how would you set that team up and why?
I think so. When I think about teams, one of the best books out there was The 5 Dysfunctions of Teams. Because every team in America is dysfunctional. We're inherently,
just like every family.
Yeah, we're inherently selfish people. So when you're building team, when you study like culture, there's 3 components of a great culture: trust, belonging, and purpose.
Yes.
Well, trust. A lot of people think of trust as the best predictor of future behavior is past relevant behavior. Can I trust you? But I want to look at it a different way. To attract people to your team, they have to believe Andy's the number 1 guy in the world to get me to a higher frequency. And he's got a system. And when you come work with me, I'm going to give you this system. And I'm going to hold you accountable to this system, right? Like, I trust that. And I think this medium is one of the number 1 ways in the world for people to build an affinity with you. To say, I want to work on that dude's team.
That's right.
But it's very important when you understand coaching, there's a cycle. People start with good intention, they fail to follow through, and then they experience guilt. A good coach breaks that cycle.
Yes.
So when I'm coaching a team, I say, if we're going to hold people accountable, we have to hold them accountable to something. What are we holding them accountable to? We're holding them accountable to a system. So we look at it in 5 stages. Stage 1 is how do we get our core identity, core values? How do we share our beliefs? Because we believe people do business with other people that believe the same things they do.
It's a people sport.
So we teach real estate agents how to share their story better. We believe this. I believe there's a difference between a house and a home.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, a house is made up of sticks and bricks, and a home is made up of memories. So I have all these beliefs. We teach you how to cultivate these core beliefs. Then we teach you how to generate leads through a selling system. And that does include social today, but I still teach relationship selling. Hit list every day, farm club every day, top 25, showcase events.
That's going to always work until the end of time.
Exactly, because money follows activity.
That's right.
So we try to get every agent that we coach to commit to at least 2 hours a day of nothing but new money.
Is it from 9 to 11?
Yes. Yeah. Now, and here's the concept. You've been watching.
I'm paying attention.
Because no matter where I am in the country, right? I raise my hand. I say, how many understand the purpose of the business is to generate new money, create new customers? Everybody does.
It's my biggest pet peeve that people don't reach back ever. And you said it last night when I was listening to one of your shows or something. I was like, I blast it from the mountaintop. If you just look backwards at your old business, you would have so much future business you wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
Yes.
Everybody's chasing the future.
It's so when you think about the selling system, you're right. Some of that new money can come from old money. The stats tell us that every real estate transaction should be worth 5.7 referrals.
It keeps growing.
Over the lifetime of the consumer.
I agree.
The average person is going to buy 4 to 6 houses.
Yeah.
But 98% of agents or mortgage originators or title companies never call a customer back once they do the transaction.
I know, it breaks my heart. It doesn't make any sense to me from a logical standpoint as a business owner. Like, the customer service part is so big.
It has to do with our brains loving going and getting something new and getting bored with something old.
All the way back when we were literally in caves and had to go hunt and eat. I get it. Yeah. I love to go hunt.
But optimization, like getting those 5.7 referrals, doing all 4 deals, is very critical. So we teach story, selling system, follow up, and I wrote a book called $1 Million Follow Up, which is very popular in real estate because most agents go 2 touches. Every stat in the world says 7 to 15 touches 80% of the time, and I teach linear and non-linear touches, how to bring a person to a decision. Then we move to how to extract referrals, and then we finish with person of interest, how you become a person of interest, which is really what you've done. You've become the buyer versus the seller.
Right.
Because you created a brand and a podcast and a book, which is something everybody should be doing.
Agreed.
Like every person should aspire to become a person of interest. Then you're the buyer versus the seller, like people trying to get on your podcast. You're doing the buying here, not the selling.
That's right.
And so I think when you become a buyer versus a seller, this is what I was teaching over in Huntington Beach this morning. When you become the buyer versus the seller, you're in demand.
That's right.
People want a piece of you because you have this primary hard skill set that solves a big problem in the world.
Right.
So that's the technical parts of what we coach every person in. I call them a demonstrated capacity. And the parable of the talents in the book of Matthew talks about when you use talents, you get more talents. And so I saw an interpretation once that said demonstrated capacity, like they showed a demonstrated capacity to use the talents. Therefore, they were given more talents and more opportunity.
That's right.
So I tell a person after 1 year with me, you should have those 5 demonstrated capacities. which should help you get at least a 43% increase in your business
For sure.
in 1 year if you do what I'm teaching. Now, some people get 100%, 200%, some people get 30%. Some people get 0% because they don't do it.
Depends on the person.
So a good coach, in your situation when you're attracting people in, you're the coach, right? You have a proven system. Question is, how do you get those people to buy in? I don't believe in formal leadership. I believe a formal authority. I believe the only lasting form of authority is moral authority.
That's right.
Which means I buy into you. If I asked my team today to say, look, after this, Andy and I are going up on top of this building and we're going to make calls for 2 hours. My team members would say, okay, how do we get up there?
That's right.
Because they buy into me.
That's right.
If they don't buy into the messenger, they won't buy into the message. Okay? So because there's deep scripting from Covey and me, the whole person theory, you build the man first and then you build the organization.
That's right. Oh, I firmly believe
That's the part that's missing in all the pretenders that are out there. They really haven't, they don't have a demonstrated capacity. You know, there was one guy that we were looking at a podcast out here in LA, and a lot of my big time friends called him and said, you should have Coach Burt on. He's legitimate. He's like, I don't know, you know. And I was looking up what he did. I'm like, man, what has this dude ever done?
What does he really do?
He's never done anything except interview successful people.
That's right.
Like, you've done what you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Just by the way you framed it. Because he's reached out to me, I don't know how many times I've told him no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just like, come on, man. I mean, you know, if somebody big time calls and vouches for you and says, look, you should have this dude on because he's legit. You don't know him, but you need to know him.
3 people said you should have Coach Burt. I'm like, I'm trying to find a hole in my schedule. It's already done. I got your back. It's coming.
Yeah.
Because, and for me, it's really simple. So first my team vets you, and then they give me the thumbs up for me to take my personal time to figure out if it's going to be a fit.
Absolutely.
And if it's a fit, it's a fit.
Absolutely.
And a couple have snuck by in the beginning, but we're pretty rigorous now because I really deeply care about the audience that we have and the message. And everything that you're doing massively lines up with what I'm trying to say. So many people get stuck in this like, oh, well, he mentors and so do you. And get out of here. Like, I don't care if we lived in the same town and we had the same contracts, there's still no competition.
Absolutely.
Because someone's going to do business with me because of me and you because of you.
Yes.
And I pound this into my real estate agents. I'm like, you're so stuck comparing yourself to like Bill Johnson, and I got news for you, you're never going to be Bill Johnson.
Yes.
You own your story.
Yeah.
That'll get you business. And it makes you relatable, keeps you vulnerable. Like, it's all those things that are super, super important. Love your message, man. And before I forget, because I'm sure we're going to hit it way down the road here on this podcast, but you sell this system, I'm assuming, or you just teach it or coach it or mentor it. Where can they find it? So if they are listening right now, they can maybe hit pause on this and go to iTunes and leave a rating and leave us a review and then go buy Coach Burt stuff.
Yeah, basically what we're selling is the Monster Producer Coaching Program.
Okay.
You know, and that is an online interactive academy that they can get, which is updated weekly. So it's fresh content. As soon as I create new content, it goes in there.
Nice.
My whole system is in there, which includes everything I said, those 5 key components. And then it's broken down into different pieces. We also have live coaching programs called Monster Producer that people all over the world participate in. I teach 7 times per month. People come physically. I have a training facility called the Greatness Factory.
Love it.
And then we simulcast that around the world. Those are 2 big ways that people can be coached by me. And in my program, they get me. So if you sign up to be a Monster Producer, I'm the one doing the teaching, I'm doing the coaching. I do a Monday live call every Monday for every member to jump on with me so they can get that weekly connection to me. But that's the #1 way, is go to CoachBurt.com and you can see all of that.
I love it. I love it. And it's so important to not automate that part.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that's such a big part of you and who you are and the value you bring is for them to be able to hop on Monday. If they have a question they've been waiting to ask, they get to you. Not your coach of a coach of a coach.
Right.
They get straight to Coach Burt.
And that is a true differentiator between me and lots of people I compete against, specifically in the real estate space. My buddy's Dr. Kevin Elko. Elko's a 27-time national championship mental coach. It's Nick Saban's team psychologist at Alabama, Philadelphia Eagles. And so he does all this research on what makes people winners, right? Like, and then he synthesizes it, breaks it down, gives it to Saban and says, this is how you need to communicate. The #1 thing all of his research says is every winning team comes back to one word: connection. How do you stay connected to your people, right? And when you lose connection, the teams in the NBA that touch the most, high five the most, fist bump the most, look in the eye, win the most.
They have that energy.
There's a connection.
It's the same with parenting. It's the same with marriage, relationships, business partners. When that's broke down and the communication stops, that's where all the dysfunction happens.
Absolutely. And I think it's hard. It goes back to that crumbs concept. When you lose connection, then you lose everything you built. It's like there's not equity. It's like what takes years to build up can take seconds to tear down.
100%.
So people that see me speak and they like me, and I've said, I'm going to be your coach. You sign up for my program, you're going to get me. Now that doesn't mean you give me one-to-one.
That's right.
But
that's a different program.
But yeah, that's right. And we have programs where you get more time with me. I'm big on retreats where I can spend 3 days with people.
Because you get to deep dive with them.
Yeah. So I like coming to a place like Huntington Beach, renting out a big place, having 25 people live together for 3 days, and us coach in the morning, socialize in the afternoon. I'm really big on those things. Like Tim Story, and I've done that. Tim Grover, me and Elko. You know, I like to do these retreats with big time people.
It's so smart, and especially it's like a little vacation to come out here and help your business and help your relationships. I love Tim Story. He's just a nice guy. He was one of the first people that I met in this space. I was at an event in Los Angeles, had no clue who he was. I'm sitting in line getting coffee. I was there by myself. I'm like, what is this weird? Because here's a funny story. I didn't have a website 3 years ago. My whole world was like 12 investors and just me. You couldn't find me online. I didn't exist. I was just this hustler that was crushing. And I started to kind of feel like I was going to get left behind. And so I went all in. I'm going to seminars and events all over the world. But there was this one in LA, and there's this gentleman here in the coffee, and I just start chatting with him. Such a nice guy, this and that, we're talking, blah, blah, blah. And then I go sit, and then who takes the stage and just crushes it? And I'm like, what a great dude. I talk to him afterwards, love him. Just because that's him. He's 100% him all the time. Like there's no...
I know.
That's the part I respect.
I do too. And we did a retreat with him in Vero Beach, Florida. And what I was real impressed with was every person on that retreat. He would go to them. I would watch him. He would go to them and say, step outside and give me 2 minutes on your life. Every person, he spent personal time.
Those touches.
The first night I met him when I spoke at 10X, we had a big dinner. And it was, all of us, me and Micheal, Cardone, and Tim Story, and I really didn't know a lot of these people. Like I knew Cardone, but I did not know Micheal yet. I didn't know Tim Story. I did not know some of the speakers. And we had a dinner, and I watched Story sit with every person. Like, and he didn't have to do that. Like especially on the retreat. Like we paid him to deliver. He came in and delivered, but he spent a lot of time with each individual person, and
he really cares.
And he won those people over. Those people like, man, I like that dude.
He won me over in like 10 minutes.
So that's who he is. Like to me, I just told him I want to come to church tomorrow. He said, no, let's get you up on stage and let me interview in front of the congregation. I'm like, you don't have to do that. I've just come to church. Like it's okay.
He knows he doesn't have to.
But that's who he is. So I'm a big Tim Story guy.
No, I love it. And it's truly who he is. It's also an incredible business tactic. Like, you know what I mean? So that helps.
Let me tell you something.
There is really good.
There is no telling. Like he picked up, I don't know how much business at our retreat. I know 5 people signed up for his coaching program at $5,000. Like 10 people signed up. That's 50 more thousand. And then he signed like 2 more speaking engagements at his speaking fee. So he probably made a couple $100,000 more bucks as a result of those 2 days in Vero Beach. So he gets
just being himself.
Just being himself, and it's genuine. But he's good, man. He's really, really good.
Yeah, no, and it's smart to be around people that are good. My circle's real small. Like I'm just such a family guy. I'm on the 3 o'clock every day because they've got little kids.
Yes.
Because like you were saying with the crumbs,
right?
I will gladly give away $20, $30, $40 million in these first 16 years of my kid's life to only have $300 million at the end instead of 260.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But this stuff I can't get back.
Yeah.
And so, like I was raised by a single mom. We were raised dirt poor. We had nothing.
Yeah.
And so I always knew I was going to be this incredible dad because I was going to make it a big priority. Like way before I ever had kids.
Yeah.
And I've stuck to it. And it's not that hard. Like it just isn't. Like we love to overcomplicate this stuff, especially as men.
Sure.
It is so much easier to go to work and work 18 hours than it is to be at home all day.
I agree.
And no one's ever going to tell me different.
And that's one thing Jonathan Hawkins told me about you, how well you stuck to your I go home at this time, I spend time, and I really admire that because I think when you're hardwired to go out there and produce, like you feel like you're missing something. Like I have a real problem last year saying yes to a lot of things, right? And even on days that said protected, like do not book Coach Burt on this day.
Right.
It's in red.
Yeah.
And then we booked 8 things on that
I
day.
get it.
And my wife just had a fit. She's like, well, what's the like? A, you need some rest.
Mhm.
B, we need to see you. So what we're doing now is we're really trying to purposely design 2020.
Mm.
These are the only things I'm going to do. These days means no booking. And and when it's no booking, no booking. Because what I'd say is, well, look, you can book it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got a couple hours.
You
We
can do
we
it.
Squeeze it in.
You can make it work. And then one thing would be 8 things, right? And then I'd say like, man, I'm tired. I don't have time. I hadn't time to rejuvenate like I need to. Like I've been on the road for X number of days. I'm not getting enough sleep. I can't work out like I want to.
Mhm.
So we're trying to be much more intentional
That's so smart.
in 2020.
Because those are choices. Like you're choosing that.
Absolutely.
You're choosing that pain. You're choosing to lose the
Yeah.
sleep. You're choosing to have
Yes.
this thing that we were talking about at the beginning where all your levels go up and down.
Right.
But it's hard when you're hardwired. Believe me, this whole thing that I do at a home at 3 o'clock, that did not start day one. Like,
Yeah.
that was a learned behavior because I saw what was happening. I'm like, I'm fighting with my wife more. Like there was problems, and I'm like, so now my phone was in the drawer for a couple hours. Like
Yeah.
I've worked through this. So now I'm like, well, if this will work for me, it might work for a couple other people. So I'm just going to share my message. But it's important for me, especially like my 6-year-old that's out there. He gets to see me in real time, lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell him all kinds of stuff in his life.
Mhm.
He's probably going to listen to a little bit of it.
Yes.
But he will have those things like you got from your grandpa in
Right.
your head by the example that he led.
Right.
It's not just the words, it's obviously these crazy actions that go on top of it. That's why I've been such a successful coach, is it's the same with your clients.
Right.
And then we lay it out, and like you said, to be intentional with it.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but something happens. It's almost like God is like, okay, cool, now you're getting it.
Right.
We're going to give you a little more.
Yeah.
And I am twice as successful and working less.
Right.
And in my brain, that was never going to be possible.
Yeah. Well, I was coached by Dan Sullivan in Strategic Coach when I first.
They call me every day.
Okay.
Their phone program is off the charts. Those people,
Well,
these sweet ladies are just
Yeah,
they
yeah.
hammer. You were on the website today. I'm like, I wasn't. I was on the website 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But God bless you.
Well, when I left being a high school basketball coach and became a business owner, I needed entrepreneurial structure.
Yeah,
right.
of course.
So all of my friends in my market that were successful and wealthy, they were middle-aged guys, kept saying, you need to go to Strategic Coach.
Mhm.
And so I went to Strategic Coach, and what they taught was a time system.
Yes.
And the time system is there's 3 types of days, right? You basically rest, you practice, and you perform.
Mm-hmm.
You're off, and off to Sullivan was 24 hours
Off.
of complete disengagement
Yes.
from your business.
Yes.
So I, of course, me, this little 30-something entrepreneur, I was like, okay, I got a question. I love reading books. If it's a day off and I read a book, is it considered off? And here's the first question. Does it make you think about your business?
I was just going to say the same thing.
And I was like, yes.
Is it a business
Then
oriented book?
it's a work day.
That's right.
All right. What if I have my buddies over and we barbecue and sit out by the pool? Do you talk business? If you talk business, then it's a work day.
And
So
it's scored.
his point was you need rejuvenation. So he always taught us there's 3 states. You're rejuvenated, you're mechanical, or you're burnout. Burnout being loss of all joy or passion for something, right? And the only way to live in a rejuvenated state is to regularly take times of rejuvenation. The word restoration has the word rest in it.
That's right.
So, and the Bible teaches us to take a day off. Like I take a full day off every week. And that day for me is Saturday because when I go to church on Sunday, I get super creative.
Well, yeah.
And so on Sunday, I create. The Saturday typically is my complete day off. And so, I appreciate you coming up here and doing this on Saturday. For those people that are watching, you didn't have to do that because I know it's.
And no one's ever been in the studio on Saturday.
So that,
and I've never done this
like
ever.
that means a lot to me.
Of course, absolutely.
But Sullivan was right. Here's what he used to say: the people who are the highest money earners in our society are athletes, entertainers. They cannot perform. Like when you go see a great entertainer, and they perform for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours. Look at how much energy they're exerting,
All of it.
and how good they are. They could not do that 365 days a year.
Impossible.
So what they do is they rest, they practice, right? They write songs, they perform, and then they perform. And when they perform at the highest level possible. So I'm trying to teach my team
It's a system.
when I'm performing, every time I'm in front of people, the better I am, the more income we're going to generate.
Of course.
Whether I'm speaking on a big stage, small stage, or I'm on a podcast. This is a stage. If I come in here today tired and frustrated and irritated, I'm not going to be good for you or your audience, right? There's going to be no more opportunity for us.
Very true.
So my team, I'm trying to teach my team, help me protect my energy by understanding the system. I need to rest, I want to practice, and then I need to perform. That is a great system, but I fought that system, Andy. I can't tell you. When he taught that to us, I was like, he's crazy. There is no way in the world I'm not reading a business book on my day off, or I'm not doing something. Like, I still struggle with that, but I try to practice that. Practice days for me are I'm in the office, but I'm wearing something comfortable. I'm thinking or creating. Like, I love days in the office where there's no schedule. I have no coaching appointments. I can do whatever I want to. If I want to make sales calls, I can. If I want to create something, I can. But I love that. To me, that's like a day off.
I agree.
So I'm trying to operate on that philosophy.
It works. And I love the strategic coach. They've got a great model. It works. And I've known some incredible entrepreneurs that have changed their whole world because of that program. It just works for who we are as humans. Like, it makes sense for us to rest. It's really, really important. And like you, I fought it forever because I felt like I was going to be missing something or leaving something on the table. And then I just started to slowly figure out, like, well, who do I want to be at 50?
Yeah.
Who do I really want to be at 60?
Yeah.
If I'm going this hard at 50, I'm gonna be a lot less valuable to everybody around me.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. One place I disagreed with strategic coach was that I'm not looking for ways to get out of work.
Right, me either.
Okay, and I woke up at one time. I was in a class and I looked around and it was mostly, there was very little diversity. There was 38 men and 3 women. And I felt like every person in there was trying to figure out strategies to get out of work. Okay, now, meaning create a business, a self-sustaining business that they don't have to do anything with. You follow me?
There's an entire generation doing it.
Now, the challenge for me is I see work as a distribution channel for my God-given talents.
Get it? I agree.
I am most alive when I'm creating, when I'm creating something or moving towards something. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to play golf 5 days a week. I don't want to do those things. So I looked up and I said, this program's not for me right now because I'm at a different stage in my life cycle. Now, at 50, I may feel different.
Agreed.
But what Dr. Hotze told me when you said that about 50 is he said, if you keep going at the pace you're going and you don't get your body and your levels right, you will literally walk in one day and be done.
Because we all go through overwhelm. I don't care who you are.
Yes.
We all fall into depression. We all fall into crazy forms of some kind of anxiety. That's real. Everybody.
Yeah.
And for me, sometimes it's really bad. I'm like, my life is incredible. I never have to work again. Why am I depressed?
Right.
And I have to literally go back and dissect. Where am I in overwhelm?
That's right.
Oh, I'm in overwhelm of boredom.
Right.
Or I'm in overwhelm of something.
Yeah.
It all goes back to that.
Yeah. And you think about what brings you to life, like what charges your batteries. You know, they taught us this concept of unique ability, of really structuring the business around your unique ability, which is some superior ability, typically recognized very early in life.
Yes. For sure.
Compounded by energy when you're doing it. And the world rewards you. And it doesn't just reward you in money. That's a big mistake a lot of people think.
That's just part of it.
Like, I coached for 10 years. I made anywhere between $24,000 and $50,000 or $60,000, and I loved every second.
You were full. You were happy.
I loved every second of it. And the way I got paid was in my players' production levels and how good they turned out. Like,
that feels the best.
Affirmation. You get paid in affirmation. You get paid in love. You get paid in referrals. You get paid in reputation. Then you get paid by money. Money is only a byproduct of real value creation.
Doing the right thing. We have a very simple thing on my website. It's a picture of me, and it says, adding value first is the most important.
Yes.
Real simple.
Yes.
But if you're not doing that, and so many people would love to just automate their whole world.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, 30 to 60 days of making money and not doing anything for most people is catastrophic.
Yes.
They don't know it yet,
Right.
but I've seen it happen with a lot of people. I'm like, what are you going to do? Go buy another Rolls?
Yeah.
You're going to have another Lamborghini to drive around that you're going to hate because the whole inside of you is growing, and you're trying to find a passion that doesn't exist anymore? That's a problem.
Yeah, and I think when you're thinking about this concept of passion, irresistible belief for motive or action, that's the definition of passion, right? It's an irresistible belief for motive to move or take action.
I tell my wife all the time, like, you don't understand.
And I mean, I know we're all looking for ways to make money easier.
Yeah,
I'm no
of course,
different.
of course.
How do we do, Bradley thinks I should be doing $250,000 a month in my online academy. And he's right.
I know.
He's right, okay? But that doesn't mean I still don't want to speak, because I love the speaking. Doesn't mean I don't want to do some coaching, because I love the coaching. Doesn't mean I don't want to do retreats, because I love the retreats. I think I use a word called intentional congruence. It's where all parts of your life feed all parts of your life. So I buy real estate. I take the money from my coaching business, the excess cash, and I buy unique properties around the country. Okay? That are unique. Like our house in Florida has 9 bedrooms, like a little hotel.
Love it.
And we can rent that house for $14,000 a week. Then we can use that house for retreats where we make more money. We pay the house first.
Or put the whole family there for a vacation.
That's right.
I love
That's
it.
right. And then we bought this beautiful lodge in Tennessee that sits on 23 acres. And it's 20 minutes from my house.
Perfect.
We can go there. I can coach. Sometimes we go there on the weekend and we pretend we're in the mountains.
Of course.
But that's what I've done as far as real estate goes, is taking that and buying unique destination properties, using those properties to generate more money. And my thought is, when we get people there and they get around other people and they exchange energy and ideas, they're going to buy more things.
It's infectious.
They're going to upgrade their coaching packages. They're going to say, put me on 6 retreats like it's never failed me. We can take a $15,000 day where I'm doing 50 people at $300 a person. And turn it into a $100,000 day from getting people to that lodge in a cool environment and teaching them something.
Because you create that, and then you hold that space. You hold the energy for them to then learn.
Yes.
And as humans, this has been scientifically proven. I talk about it constantly. When we're learning something, when we're in the physical act of mastery, we're the happiest.
Yes.
Where people get in trouble, that's why this whole thing with like, oh, I got this money in the bank and now what? You're not learning anymore. You're not consciously chasing something that fires you up. That's a massive problem.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I was talking to a real estate agent the other day who's 71 years old, and he's been coming to my stuff. He's been coming to my coaching program. And I said, but he's coming like one-offs, right? Like one thing at a time. And I'm like, man, why don't you just
go
get in the coaching?
Here's
what he said. Coach, I'm 71. I'm like, are you dead?
Are you dead? Exactly.
Because if you're not dead, then surely you got one more good swing in you. You're coming, which tells me you're interested. Which tells me you're trying to sell more houses. Yes.
He was broke at 71, a billionaire at 80.
That's good. But that's what I see, is I see a lot of static people that are successful. And I hear this, well, I'm earning $250,000 a year. Like, what more do I need? I actually had a guy in my coaching program say, is there really a difference between earning $250,000 a year and $650,000 or $1 million per year? And
yes,
I was like,
massive difference.
I was like, a significant difference.
Yeah.
In everything.
$400,000.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't even believe you asked me that question. But in his mind, like I live in Tennessee, the average sale price of a house in Tennessee is probably $229 to $269, right?
Yep.
Very blue collar, right? Like people freak out because I have a jet, and all that kind of stuff. And I got that so I could get places and see my daughter.
Smart.
And and he asked me that question. I'm like, man, I can't even believe you asked me that. Like in his mind, I'm at the top, man. 250, and I'm there.
Because he's probably made the most out of anybody in his family ever.
Yeah.
And now he's at his own little mountaintop.
Yes.
And he's looking at all these other peaks thinking it's too much work to get there, so I'm going to play it safe and stay here until somebody nukes that mountain. And now what? What happens when your company does this? What happens if you get sick? What happens if your wife gets sick? What happens if something happens and now if you would have gone a little harder when you could have, then now you can't go back and change it, right? And that's the part that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Is I don't know, it's just part of who I am. I want to go as hard as I can and still like have the life that I want to design, just in case.
Well, there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer.
Oh, it's so true.
And winter's coming. Listen, I started coaching people during the recession. Like, that's when I retired.
I got into real estate in a way.
There you go. So I didn't even know any better. Like, he was either really smart or really dumb.
Me too.
But let me tell you who I first started coaching in 08. Big home builders.
Yeah, because they're trying to jump off a building.
I knew nothing about the home building industry.
Yeah.
And one of the top builders in the state of Tennessee saw me speak at a luncheon, like a chamber luncheon, that I wasn't even getting paid for. And he came up to me and said, look, I don't know what you got, but we need some of it. Come see me tomorrow. And I went to see him. He's this famous guy in our town, you know, made a bunch of money, was selling 1,000 houses a year. That was huge, independently, not a national builder. And so I go to his office the next day. He's like, look, I'm in a funk. I'm battling depression. I'm laying people off. I'm watching my company go down the drain. We were selling 40 houses a week. Now we're selling 4. And I don't know what to do, man. And he said, I don't know how you can help me, but you're going to be my coach.
He was smart enough to ask for help.
Yes, and it was so crazy. He's like, how much is it going to cost me? I had no pricing structure.
Just throw out a big number.
Here's what I said. It's going to be $125,000.
Yeah.
He looked at me and he said, let's round it to 120 and get started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And so I literally coached him for a year and his team, and I learned the real estate game. I learned how to build subdivisions. How do you market the properties? How do you get the agents to drive leads? How do you, right? So we had success.
What a gift for you both.
Oh, it was great.
You know what I mean?
Because when we were able to do that and we got him profitable, like he had budgeted to lose $500,000 that year. That was a win. If I only lose $500,000.
I know, especially as a developer. I get it.
So he was profitable. Then word got out to other big home builders. So I started coaching the biggest home builder in North Carolina. Then what came next? Agents, mortgage companies, insurance, title. That's how I ended up in real estate.
I love it. I love it. It's a fun industry. Like, I didn't realize it was going to be as fun as it is. Plus, I'm a simple dude. I'm not the smartest person on earth. This math makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The taxes make sense to me.
Right.
I can put a little bit of money down, control a large piece of real estate that my tenants are going to pay for me. And then whatever left over becomes income for my family.
Yes.
Where do I sign up? And it just gets better.
Well, and I think, you know, to your point, I think I've heard you say this. If you're going to be in real estate, you need to be investing in real estate. Like you right? You need to be practicing what you preach.
And that's literally what I'm getting paid to go speak all over the country to these agents. I'm like, look, you netted $450,000 last year, and you bought a couple watches and you pissed it all away.
Yes.
Like, I'm teaching them how to take that money and change their life and legacy and actually play a longer game.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they get to see the deals before they call an investor like me.
I know.
And like, this might be a great deal for you and your family. And I've helped people do it. Like, look, I'll take this down. This might be a great triplex for you to get your foot in the door.
Yes.
If you're renting right now, you can use FHA 3.5% financing, put down like $7,000 and buy this asset.
Right.
Live there for a year and 1 day, refi $100,000 out and go buy your 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and now Andy just changed your life.
Yeah.
Like, I live for that stuff.
Well, I think, you know, you said a lot of key things there. I think where a good coach comes in is to buy real estate, you got to get your revenue up first, right?
Yes.
Like you got to sell something. You got to have a selling system. You got to learn to follow up. You got to learn to overcome objection. You got to learn to extract referrals. You got to learn to be a person of interest. And then you're going to wake up with some excess cash. You're going to wake up one day and say, man, I got $100,000 in the bank or $500,000 or whatever. Now what do I do with it? Now I need to invest it in something that's going to produce more money.
It's the only reason to save is to make a play.
Yeah, absolutely.
You save money to make an investment.
Yeah, big time people use the cash flow they're bringing in to create more money. They use money to make more money. They don't sit on money or save the money. So I think the play there, what you're teaching people is here's how you go do it, and then here's how you go do it to build wealth. Like I'm working on a book right now called Single Digit Millionaire, and how to get to double digits, right? And it's first, as I'm writing that book, it's really a transition book about how I went from a high school basketball coach earning what I earned to a millionaire, right? How did I do it? Because that's what Cardone wanted me to speak on at 10X. And that was really this book, Inside the Mind of a Monster. He's like, here's what I want you to talk about. How did you go from here to here? Because it's crazy, because most high school teachers don't go from there to here.
No.
And so how did you do it? So it forced me to go back. Like, what did I do from 18 to 25?
Isn't that fun to go back and start writing your story again?
And codifying it.
Yes.
And so it forced me to go back and go, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And then I remember asking my financial advisor one day, like, when can I tell people that I'm a millionaire? Because it will be powerful for them to know I've done it.
It's powerful for you.
And he was like, well, you've been one for the last couple of years. And I'm like, I didn't even know it. Like, I was like totally naive to it. I was like, I have? And he's like, yeah, your net worth is this. But my point is, when I'm writing this book, Single Digit Millionaire, it's about, first, only 4% of small businesses ever break $1 million of revenue. Right? Like it's going to be hard for you to be a millionaire if your business is not even producing $1 million.
Well, the stats are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're stacked way against you.
Then you're going to have to learn how to sell and then reinvest something, right? And then you're going to have to get your net worth to 1 to 10 million, which is an indicator that you have done something. Then I'm going to call in all my rich buddies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say, now, how did you go to double digits?
That's right.
Because all I can teach you right now is how to get to single digits. But the first step is what? Get to single digits
Get to single,
before you get to double digits.
and then get around some people that are doubles, and then get around some triples, and then you have a huge network of people that, especially in the real estate game, is okay. Here's this deal I'm doing for $6 million.
Yes.
I need to go call my double digit buddies.
That's exactly
and
right.
see if they want to partner with me.
Yeah.
This is not rocket science.
I know. Bradley's always joking with me. He's like, you're just a little single digit millionaire. And I'm like, yeah. But I'm proud because 10 years ago I was a high school basketball coach.
That's right.
Making $50,000 bucks a year.
And you're going up the escalator,
Yeah,
my friend.
yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. I got Brad so fired up on real estate when I was on his podcast, and he was asking me these questions, and he was going back and forth with Grant stuff, and he was trying to basically not slam like his fund, but he was trying to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I go, look, I keep it real simple. Here's what I do. And he just kept going and going and going. He goes, man, I just want to give you like $5 million.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, awesome contracts.
Here we go.
We can do, because I truly want to help.
Yes.
Like, it's really important to me.
Right.
Because I know that if I can do it, I can teach anybody how to do it.
Right, absolutely. And people, let's go back to this saying, there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer.
That's right.
And it's coming whether you're ready for it or not. Like I tell Mel, my personal assistant, we were talking about her because she's, I don't know how, 20-something years old, 28 years old. And I'm like, Mel, you need to start investing right now in something.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if it's $50 a month, $100 a month, because there comes a time. Like I wasn't thinking like that from 20 to 30.
Of course.
Nobody set me down and said, look.
Me either.
But like that's a big regret I have. I didn't have any business coaching.
Me either.
I had coaches coaching me on how to be a better basketball coach, how to win more championships. But I didn't have a guy like me saying, you need to be doing this.
With your money.
With your money.
That's
you
right.
need to understand how to get your money up. You need to understand how to reinvest it. You need to start now. Like I didn't have that person. So I want my people to have that person, right? Because there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. It could all go away tomorrow. Like all of the success
It
we're
really
having.
could go away tomorrow.
And that freaks me out. Like I wake up in the morning going, man, I like living where I live. I like the lifestyle I have. I like the fact that my wife and my daughter provided for. Like I don't want this to go away.
Mhm.
So that fear fuels me.
It keeps you going.
It fuels me. I still have it.
Of course.
But I use it. And when my prey drive is activated when my back's against the wall.
Yeah.
Like if we're not hitting our sales number,
yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm getting in here. We're going to hit this number.
I'm the same way. And the beauty of that is it could all go
Absolutely.
like to zero tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have the knowledge to get it all back.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Is no
That's
one
right.
can take what's in my head from me. I don't want it to go away, but if it does, I'm not going to be crippled and be sitting there with a bottle of booze for 9 years straight talking about I had millions and it all. No. Okay. Game on. Now we're going here.
Well, the smart thing you're doing, and I had this long 2-hour conversation with Grant Carter a few weeks ago in Miami. I was down there speaking at a thing, and he said, come over to the office and see me. And I went over there, and he just, I can't tell if I'm motivated or depressed after I've been with him for a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because he kept saying it all goes to zero, man. The coaching business, it all goes to zero. And I couldn't really understand what he was saying. I'm like, what's he talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What he was saying was, in the coaching business, people that love you today may not love you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much you help them.
Mm-hmm.
You may help a person make $5 million, and they're on somebody else.
That's right.
That's what he was saying, is this business goes to zero. The real estate business does not go to zero.
Ever.
Okay, so the smart thing to do, if you love what he was saying to me is, if you love coaching, that's fine. Take the money from your coaching.
That creates income.
And put it over here, right? Because this doesn't go to zero. And I experienced that because I have people say, man, coaching changed my life, but next week they're on to Tony Robbins.
That's right.
Or whoever.
That's right.
And I'm like, well, I thought I changed your life. I thought there was loyalty between you and I. Like, I thought you would be here for...
Because that's what you did.
Yeah.
You got on the Covey train and
stayed
there for 10 years. But that's definitely not how it is now, especially with the internet now. Like, there's just so many people like, what is this person doing? I'm going to do drop shipping and e-commerce too. Like, you're a real estate broker.
Yes.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. And I think that long obedience, and so you're right, I stuck with one dude, and that dude changed my life. And I'll always...
So you're loyal.
Yeah, exactly. I'll always be indebted to that person. And like I see today is this, we start with good intention, we fall off the wagon, we experience guilt. And the way I'm built is long obedience in the same direction. Like the way you master something. I was telling you about my $150 million mortgage producer. I've been her coach for 6 years. Every major person that's earning the most income, I have been their coach for 6 or more years. Like, they don't quit. They keep going. Why would they? They keep making money.
It's working.
And I'm sitting there saying, well, this person, look at all my top money earners. I have been their coach for long periods of time. They have a mastery of my content. They could teach my content.
Because they're bought in.
And you are over here starting and quitting, and you don't show up, and you're not on the accountability, and you're trying to figure out why she's doing 150 million and you're doing 5 million. Look at the difference between these two people. Long obedience in the same direction.
It's night and day. Like, this game of life is not that hard.
We complicate it.
Man, do we complicate it. So when it fails or doesn't work, we have an out and an excuse.
That's right. Yeah.
The simpler it is, like, here's when I work, here's when I go home, family time, and repeat. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, whether it's Saturday, Sunday,
Yes.
Monday, doesn't matter. Like, I do the same thing every single day.
Yeah, success can be boring. And what I mean by that is you get up and kick everybody's butt, and you go to bed and you do it all over again tomorrow. But success comes through repetition. Consistent, ongoing, systematic. If you talk to Brad Lee, he talks about content, repetition, role play, and testing. Those are the 4 things you got to have to grow somebody, right?
Sure.
Grow your team. So I believe this repetition, people want something new all the time, and I'm like, no. The way you become great at something is you stay focused on this one thing. Like, I hear people say, well, I heard you talk about that last month. I'm like, it all builds on each other. Like, this whole system, when you get good at this system, your numbers are going to go up significantly. But you haven't even mastered step 1 or step 2. Like, you don't understand the system. And you're not implementing the system. You're not executing the system. Therefore, your numbers are not going to go up.
And it's important to stay new. Like, I still think I'm this, like, 12, 13, 16-year-old kid who's just hungry and wants to just prove to the world I'm going to do something. I stay in that. That's why I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I have this thing in my head where I'm always going to be a white belt.
Right.
I'm always going to be learning something new. And just being humble in that space, it allows me to learn more.
Sure.
And it's so much fun. I'm never going to get there. Ever, ever, ever. It's that pursuit that's so much fun for me. Because I've had some times before where I was very successful, had lots of money, and I would self-sabotage because I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And I would burn either it all down or some of it just to rebuild it again. And I'm like, and then I found out a lot of people do that.
Yes.
So for me, it's that staying new and really being okay with that.
Yeah.
And if there was something that you could leave this audience with, you know, that you really want to hit home, maybe something from the book that you just really, if there's one chapter that you can teach, and you can only teach one, what chapter would it be? I
think it would be the framework and mindset of a monster producer. So many people ask me, like, where does this come from in you? How do you attack a day? How do you map out and play offense all the time?
Right.
How do you attack this? So I go into the habits and mindsets of a big time person in there. How do they plan? How do they work a system? How do they follow up? How do they extract referrals? To me, the book is a mindset book, because you're going to read that book, Inside the Mind of a Monster, and go, man, I'm weak in this area. Then I go through the whole system, and I tell people, this is exactly what I'm coaching people on. Because people say, well, can I travel with you for a day? Or will you talk to me about how you map out your days for that? And I'm like, this is how I do it. This is, you go inside the mind of a monster and extract, right? And I think that would be the best chapter, is just right in the beginning, like, this is who I am. This is how you can play at a higher level. This is the frequency you want to get to.
I love it. I love it, Coach Burt. Go out and get his book and find that chapter.
Yes.
Dominate that chapter.
Yes.
Go to his website. If you own a company and you have people come out and speak, you definitely want this man on your stage. Thank you so much. I could sit here and talk to you all day.
I know, man. This has been awesome.
This has been so much fun to get to know you. Where can everybody find you? Where are all of your social media handles, your websites, everything?
Yeah, I think, great place is YouTube. I do put out a lot of content. It's a great place to build an affinity with me, see if you like my coaching style. And just search Coach Micheal Burt. My mother did spell it different, Micheal, which wasn't a problem until you had to buy websites.
That's right.
Then I got to buy it both ways, AEEA.
That's right.
But on Instagram, at Micheal Burt, and that's Micheal. But pretty much if you search Coach Micheal Burt, you will find me, and then we would love to help you. I do believe everybody needs a good coach in life.
I agree.
I believe a good coach can change your life, and there's a lot of people out there that call themselves coaches, but they have not had a demonstrated capacity of winning championships or building businesses. You really need to know what kind of success they've had before you turn your potential over to them. And that's a big trend I'm seeing.
Oh, important.
Yes.
Do not hire somebody who has not done for a long time what you're trying to hire them for. I don't know why this is not so. It's so simple. I have tons and tons of mentors. Most of them are in their 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for our phone calls. I have always had mentors, always had coaches, will always have coaches, will always have mentors. I'm very coachable because I want it faster.
Yeah.
I want it better. I don't want to go through, 20 years of nightmares like maybe they have to.
Well, let me say one thing here as we end, because you trigger so many things, man. The way you're talking. I was watching an interview with Robert Greene, who wrote Mastery, 48 Laws of Power, Laws of Human Nature. He's just a freak of nature, right? Like the way he researches that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him if there was one way to speed up mastery.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? And at first he said, well, if you ask that question, you're not interested in mastery. But if there's one thing I would give you credit for, one way to speed up mastery of anything is by who is coaching you.
Agreed.
If you study at the feet of a master, it could speed up your, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't think like that. If you're out there in the world, like I was with Albert Preciado yesterday, who's got the driven concept, and,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the mortgage guys. And what I was most impressed with when I was doing his podcast was he wanted to know something from Ty Lopez, and he called Ty Lopez and said, how much would it cost for me to learn how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
$50,000. Okay, here's your $50,000.
Now teach me.
He wanted to know something from Patrick Bet David about how to build this big team of 10,000 people, and he called him and said, how much to coach you? He wanted to know how to buy apartment complexes. He went to Cardone,
Mm-hmm.
and he paid the money. Most people will never do that. I'm big on who's the number one dude out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you carved out your space, like the 100 Doors concept. It's a killer concept.
Thank you.
And as soon as I started looking, I was like, that's a killer concept. So people need to come to you when they want to know how to do this, because
Mm-hmm.
you've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to spend the money and invest in themselves to learn how to do it, because the return's going to be ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, I know.
And it just changes your life. Like, I love to have peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing with like being financially free, it feels incredible, but at the same time, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And if you have enough self-worth and you think you're worth it, go all in and see what happens.
Yeah, if you could build a concept, I don't know if there's a such thing as indestructible wealth, but that should be every person's goal.
Agreed.
Build some indestructible wealth so you don't have to worry about it. There's so much anxiety, man. I see people every day that want to be in my coaching programs. Well, I don't have enough money. It's constant.
Mm-hmm.
And I never understood, why do people talk about money so much? Because I live in the South,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't talk about money much.
Mhm.
Like, I never had a conversation growing up in my house about money,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So, but it hurts my heart when our salespeople talk to so many people in a day that want me to be their coach, and then they're like, I can't even afford $99.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, this is not going to change.
Mm-mm.
We could have this conversation today, or we could have it 6 months from today.
Mm-hmm.
So cut out eating at Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yep.
Cut out drinking on the weekend. Cut out something. And
$5 coffee a day,
and put it
you
into
buy
this.
a $500 program a month.
yes, like I borrowed $2,500 from my mom at 25 years old to go get certified in those 7 habits.
Mhm.
I didn't have the money,
Mhm.
but I found the money, and then I paid her back. And that $2,500 has helped me produce millions of dollars just knowing those 7 habits.
Agreed.
So that's, you and I are in alignment. So thank you for today. Thank you for coming in on Saturday.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. We're gonna be longtime friends
Agreed.
and partners. I'm sure somewhere on something. You're gonna have me buying a bunch of stuff.
That's right. I love Coach Burt. I'm an out fan. You guys go follow him, and we will see you guys